Are you getting ready for your next event and you're going to be dealing with a lot of different people, whether it's VIPs or speakers, or even just vendors? Well, I have a tool that I love and I create for almost every single one of my events, and I call it a lookbook or a face sheet, or I've heard people call it a Facebook, not the app, but an actual book of faces. And so I'm going to break down exactly what it is, how I make it, and why you might need one for your next event. Before we jump into it, I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based here in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and all over the world. I do want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell so you get notified every single Monday when I drop new videos. I'm also the co-host of the Better Events podcast with fellow event pro Mary Davidson, where we dive even more into some of these topics. We've had guests on to talk about VIP management, speaker management, you name it. We've dived into a topic kind of more in depth than I can here on YouTube. So give it a listen wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm also excited to announce we're hosting the first ever Better Events conference. So if you're watching this before Wednesday, December 20th, which is our event day, we are hosting a virtual conference to meet you and to get to interact with you, watchers of YouTube or listeners of our podcast. And we're just going to create a day full of connection and education for event professionals. We're going to dive more into what you should be charging for your rates and why you need to advocate for your work. We're going to do some Event Pro Book Club action, which is going to be so much fun. We're going to have different vendor experts come on to tell you what your vendor wishes you knew, what your catering company wishes you knew. And it's just going to be a magical day. So hope you can join us. I'm linking here to get tickets above and below. I love this tool. I'm not going to lie, everyone. I first started doing it because I was working with speakers and athletes and VIPs, and it's something that I've actually now I use it for most events. I'll create it to just help me recognize people's faces and to remember their names. And so why is it crucial for VIPs or speakers? Well, sometimes if you have someone who's famous in certain circles, they're used to being recognized. They're not used to having to introduce themselves. And so having this face sheet, this lookbook is just going to set you up for success to make that person feel acknowledged and welcome. And you can use it just to make sure that you know who they are when they get brought up to you, because you might not get introduced. Sometimes someone brings them and says, "Hi, Logan, here's John." And you go, "Oh, John who? Which John? I have too many Johns." Well, if you have this lookbook or face sheet, essentially what it is it's a piece of paper where you lay out the photo of the person and their name. And what I will also include on there sometimes is the organization or the activation, the part of my event that they're going to be talking at or used for. And then I also will include pronunciation. So if they have a name that is tough to pronounce, I will phonetically write their name out on this piece of paper. Again, you're not posting this paper on the wall anywhere. This is meant to be on your clipboard or with you. It's just your handy dandy cheat sheet. I've also made this for volunteers when we've had executive board members or people that we just want them to know, to just be extra generous with, or just know if they say something to you, that comes with some authority because they're on the organization's board. And I've never had a speaker or anyone who's accidentally seen, a peek of this get offended by it, because again, it's just their photos that I find on the internet, their name, they understand it's just a tool for you to utilize. But making sure you have pronunciations is an important one. And especially if you haven't worked with those people before, my hack is usually I'll go to YouTube and try to find a video where that person is saying their own name. Don't look for how someone else pronounces their name because they could be saying it wrong. But like in an interview, or they might introduce themselves in a video. "Hi, I'm Logan Clements." So now you know how to say my last name, Clements. You're not going to say Clemens or Clements or Clement. You're going to know I say my name, Logan Clements, if you watch my YouTube videos. Okay, so you can see here, this is a face sheet that I made as a day of coordinator for another event planner. I blocked out the names for some of the people, but I kept in their key kind of roles here for the event. And so here I have, the client. I wanted to make sure I knew exactly how to pronounce it and just their formal long name. Also USJA as their acronym. That just would help me when I'm at this event, making sure that I knew and sounded like I was really familiar with the client. These are just some key people that I put just kind of their purpose down so that they could help advise me on the placement of things. I wanted to have our hotel contact for the venue that we were at. And then I was also in charge of making sure the florals got set up correctly. And this was just some example photos that I had to make sure that I could double check what the other planner had pre-ordered. I could make sure that's actually what's on site. And again, this one was super simple, just for a really small kind of social event that I was doing, but this was so crucial for me, and just making sure that it was a seamless handoff from the planner who did the pre-planning to me. I seemed in the know. I knew these people's names. It was such a helpful thing for me at my event. Now here's another one for a sporting event that I did in Las Vegas. And this is just, again, I was working with all the talent and the groups. And so I wanted to make sure that I had all of their names, I had their photos so I could recognize who they were. Because also sometimes with VIPs and talent, you'll have a group of people appear, not just the performer. And so it's sometimes hard, especially if they're not glammed up yet, or, they aren't looking super fancy. It might be hard to figure out, okay, who's the talent and who's the manager, or the helper, or just a friend who came along for this event. And so having this face sheet just helps me really be like, okay, I know who you are, like, hi Charlie, or hi Tina, and just having that different kind of information here. Again, I did put some people, I'm a big basketball fan, so I'm like, I already know who Kelsey Plum is, and I know who Becky Hammond is, and yet this is just a helpful exercise for me. I still am going to do it, even if I recognize these people, just because in the moment, if you panic, it just gives you kind of a silent little backup to be like, yes, okay, I'm talking to the right person. So again, it's super simple. All you really need is just a name and their title, and taking the time to find their photo. Again, it's a great exercise to make yourself familiar with these people. So yeah, it's just a great tool that you can utilize for your event. You can call it a face sheet. You can call it a lookbook. I feel like there's other names event pros use, but just to me, I often will call it a lookbook or a face sheet. If it's internal and I'm the only one using it, I'm just going to call it a face sheet because it's a paper of faces. If I'm sharing it with someone else, I'll say lookbook because that just sounds a little bit fancier. But the key goal of it is you have names and faces so that you're better prepared on site or virtual, whoever you're dealing with, to make sure that you recognize the people that you're meant to recognize and you're able to give them the correct direction that they need for the event. Well, hopefully that helps answer your questions about this lovely tool for helping you recognize folks at your next event. I wish you all the best in creating your own face sheet or lookbook and just coming off looking that much more polished at your next event. Well, that brings me to the end of my video. I'm Logan Clements. I'm a freelance event producer based in Seattle, Washington, but I execute events here and all over the world. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.